Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about the jungle role in Pokemon Unite. Now, I do want to go ahead and preface this by saying I was unfortunately not able to get my own footage. I didn't have like everything set up whenever I really decided I wanted to start making content for Pokemon Unite. But I think that I can give a pretty preliminary idea and guide to jungling and give you kind of the overall understanding of what this is. Now, I have to imagine that maybe if you're stumbling across this video, or just people that might come across the video, there are probably a lot of players in this game that don't necessarily come from a Moba background and don't really understand the jungle role, maybe some of the terminology, or even why. Just why would you jungle at all? Why have this person doing this separate thing? And I want to explain that. I want to build a kind of beginner guide or interim guide before I can do maybe a much better guide in the future whenever I actually get my hands on the game and can, record on my own. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's go ahead and talk about who can jungle. What characters, what Pokemon in Pokemon Unite can jungle. In my honest opinion, from what I played of the Japanese stress test or the beta, it really felt like anyone could jungle. Now, that being said, you're probably not going to see any Pokemon just being jungled just because they can. There will maybe be some strategies that I could see forming, but in my opinion, some of the best junglers are probably either going to be attackers, speedsters, or all-rounders. If I'm being completely honest, I really think that it's going to mostly be for speedsters and all-rounders. I think that attackers are good at it, but it just doesn't... I think that you might get more value out of having an attacker in lane to kind of bully early to fight over some of those lane objectives and then get some damage on the enemies than you would out of the jungle, but it really comes down to team composition. If you're running a team that might run 3 different attackers, well, maybe 2 of them are in the jungle or one of them's in the jungle. So I think that the support role and the defender role, those are probably not going to be seen in the jungle as much. I think that they could be, and that's fine if you really want to try to be that person, but ultimately you're going to see mostly attackers, all-rounders, and the speedsters in the jungle role. Now, why jungle? Let's talk about this. The why for jungling is very, very important. It's the main reason why the role exists. In this game, it is an experience-driven game. You want to gain advantage if you can. And if you are sharing those same lane Pokemon, the wild Pokemon that are in the lane, if you're, kind of flooding the lanes with your body or just an extra person, then y'all are sharing more experience than needs to be shared when there is this extra source of experience to be had in the jungle. So the jungler's role is to, one, be kind of unpredictable off the map, so that way you can set up ganks, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on, and find a way for themselves to bring value to the team, but also bring value to the team by being someone that is not sharing lane experience. So if you're a jungler in the jungle, you are getting the same thing that a laner would get in terms of experience in your own path and your own route with some extra benefits. So now you know who can jungle, now you know why you should jungle. Let's talk about how to literally do it. So on the screen here, I'm going to pull up a map that I was able to find, and please forgive me, I'm not the most well-versed person in the Pokemon world, but I want to show you a few things. Now, if you look, we're going to be looking at it from the left-hand side. There's all these different camps and things. Realistically, I'm probably going to have a path drawn out of what at least you should start. I'm looking at some resources on all the wild Pokemon that are in the jungle, and this is what I was able to find. So you have in the lane, the minions are Apom. In the edge of the map, you have the Audinos. In the lane itself, in the very center, neutral camp in the very center, it's going to be the corn bees or something like that. On neutral jungle, so in the very center of the map, and on your side of the map, you're going to have the corfish, and then you have right outside of your spawn wall, so the very first jungle camp that you could get to before getting to the 2 buff camps that we're going to talk about, you have a Lillipup. And then, of course, you have Bouffalant and Ludicolo. So Bouffalant and Ludicolo are very important because they are going to be some of the first jungle camps that you want to clear because they give you a buff. Now, each one giving you their own buff. So Bouffalant gives you a buff that makes attacks reduce enemy movement speed, and I believe gives you damage, maybe not. I actually think that might just be what Ludicolo does. Ludicolo will give you a buff that increases damage, so you're going to want the one that is, you're going to want both of them essentially early on, because you can put them on respawn timers and you're going to be able to use those buffs going through the rest of your clear. So usually if you look at the very center right outside that green wall, you'll have the Lillipup. You can clear the Lillipup and then go into Bouffalant and Ludicolo. I would personally recommend that going for Ludicolo first is better, because you're going to get the extra damage out of Ludicolo, and then you can get Bouffalant right after. Now, what's the goal from here? Well, you want to keep getting experience. So if you want to have a much more in-depth clear, I would definitely start with this clear to begin with, pretty much no matter what, because there's really no reason not to get your buffs right out of the gate. But if you want to go for a more in-depth clear, you could move over into, you know, one of the core fish camps and then hit like an outside edge and really do like a full clear of one side of the jungle. Or you could go more towards center neutral jungle to try to get some of the experience in that neutral jungle before maybe the enemy jungler does, or even some of the enemy laners go down, and try to get some of that experience and possibly even set up a gank. Now, again, we talked about how this might be a bit of a new concept for some of y'all that are watching this video. A gank is essentially a jungler who is off the map. The enemy team doesn't know where he is. He or she will enter the lane and try to find a kill or try to find a coordinated attack on one of the enemy laners. So really, you're just going to be coming out of the jungle into one of the lanes to see if you can get a kill. Now, once you're in the lane, what do? Well, if you got a kill, great. If you didn't, unfortunate. You go back into the jungle. Keep continuing to get that experience. Find your way into the enemy jungler's jungle. This is a very kind of loose guide for what you should be doing, but as the jungler, it's your role to continue to take advantage of all of that vast experience that's in the jungle, which there is a lot of in this game. There is a lot of experience in the jungle because there's just so much jungle, and to be a presence on the map. Now, there are three like legendary Pokemon, I guess they're called. You have Dreadnought, Rotom, and Zapdos. Rotom and Zapdos, or Dreadnought and Rotom, are going to be in the edges of the map. So at the very top of the map, you're going to have Rotom. At the very bottom, you're going to have Dreadnought. Dreadnought will give you experience points and a shield. And that one is something that, like, you know, if maybe you set up a pretty positive gank in your lane, maybe you'll get a kill or just back up your enemies, you and your team could go for Dreadnought. Rotom will be they're all going to give 20 points, by the way. So Rotom will head towards your enemy goal and aid the ally team in capturing it, and it enables faster charging time. So Rotom is really good if you want, like, say you have a bunch of like Eos energy and you want to turn it in, or you want to score on their goal. It would be a really good objective to capture Rotom and to push for that. Now, Zapdos, I'm still kind of figuring out. I know that you get 20 points from Zapdos and it makes the zones vulnerable to capture, but I'm not exactly sure what that means yet. Still need to experiment a little bit there. But again, the overall goal of being in the jungle is to, not steal lane experience from your teammates, to find a scenario where you can get your own experience and you can get your own buffs from Ludicolo and Bouffalant to, those can be used for ganks, of course. If you have those buffs on, you can definitely look to gank, to deny experience from the enemy or the enemy jungler in terms of invading their jungle, getting kills in their jungle, just having the map clear, assisting with lanes through ganking, which is just the act of pushing into a lane and trying to assist or get kills. Adding pressure even is important. Like, if you just want to hit a lane and help them push that lane out, like, clear out the couple wild Pokemon or all the wild Pokemon in the area, like really clear that lane, really wipe out all that experience for you and your team, and then just go back into the jungle. You can do that because you'll have a strong presence. And then really the pacing of being in the jungle role is kind of like understanding and knowing like where everyone is. Like, if you know where their jungler is, if you see him in a lane, you can do something with that information. You can push into their jungle, you can counter gank, you can gank the opposing lane. There's a lot that you can do with that. So hopefully I've given you a decent understanding. I know this isn't a very comprehensive guide because I myself want to get more time in the jungle. As a jungle main from other MOBAs, I really want to fully understand it before I feel like I put out a comprehensive guide. I want you to know the basics of it. I want you to understand why it's important and what you should be doing as a jungler, which is really just looking for that experience, fighting for that experience, taking control of the map, having a strong understanding of what you should be doing and what kind of decisions that you can make as a jungler. That's one thing that I've always loved about the role personally, just to give you some personal insight, is that having the freedom to make your own gameplay. Laners are in lane. They're there to protect and score off the goals. They're there to fight for the wild Pokemon that are near their lane. But the jungler has a lot more freedom to do what they want to do, to go where they want to go, to have the impact that they want to have, and I really have always liked that role. So definitely, be adaptive, be someone that can make strong decisions on the fly, like knowing when to go for Dreadnought or Rotom or Zapdos. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. I just dropped my key on my keyboard, but in any case, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Definitely leave me some questions down below. I'm happy to dive a little bit more in depth. I feel like I definitely missed some things. I tried to cover all the camps and the Pokemon the best that I could, what I think a good pathing will be, and just understanding the role at that baseline level. So thank you so much for checking out the video. I definitely do appreciate it. Be sure to like the video if it's something you enjoyed, and subscribe for future Pokemon Unite content. I'm going to be playing the game a lot, streaming it here on YouTube, making guides if I can, coming up with some cool build ideas. I thought about adding some builds to this one, but I'm going to save that a little bit, kind of come up with what I think my starter jungle build for Garchomp or someone will be. Really excited about that. And yeah, as always, be sure to be kind to one another, tell someone that you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.